Ignition sequence starts. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Hey everybody, this is the Digital Asset Investor, and boy, have we had some XRP drama over the weekend with Charles Hoskinson and all that. And I didn't like that any of that went to that place, but I just felt like some of it was necessary. And I'll go into a little bit of that. But first I wanted to show you this. What we're looking at on coinpaprika.com, who is one of my sponsors, is the return rates for the last quarter. Look at these numbers. For Quant, it's 90.79%. For XRP, it's 66.77%. If you look here, XRP's up 46.9% in 30 days, 14.79% in 7 days. I love those numbers. Look at this from eGrag Crypto. XRP diamond bottom pattern. Diamond bottom pattern is not a common formation, but is considered a strong bullish reversal pattern. It can be a strong indicator for an impending reversal of the current trend. It occurs when it is preceded by a bearish trend. He's got a target of $1.50. I like the sound of that. I'll take it. Then Crypto Bull. This is interesting right here. I'm ready for the XRP to make its big move. I've been through all of this, folks, and this was some kind of exciting. And what's even more exciting to me is that when this 72,000% occurred, from that time until now, we've always known that we were locked on to the right digital asset, XRP, the greatest digital asset ever created. But I don't think that I ever could have anticipated that since the inception of my channel, which was around May 2018, when I jumped on this train, that I had no idea that from this time all the way until now, that we would watch every trick in the book to try to hold this digital asset back. And that has become what we've been talking about for all these years now. And especially the last 2 years. They never thought that we'd piece it all together, folks, but we did. Now, I want to show you, this is a very interesting video. I want you to hear, it's important to hear what this guy says about what's going on with gold.
Could you tell me your thesis for a monetary reset, a global reset?
Yeah, no. So I've been obviously watching, the developments of the global financial system for many, many years. There are a few trends that I've kept my eye on, and one is that for many, many years, physical gold has been moving east. So, and while we were in North America binging on digital assets and speculating on all sorts of things, since 2010, central banks around the world have been accumulating gold at a feverish pace, and they're still doing it, 12 years later. A lot of that gold ended up in Russia and China. Now, Russia's been very overt about its gold purchases. It's very transparent, and it's got the largest percentage of reserves in gold than any other country. China, on the other hand, is a little bit less transparent, and they report gold their gold reserves every number of years. Then they stop reporting for years, and when they do report again, the gold reserves go up exponentially. They haven't reported since 2019, where they reported 2,000 tons. But the way I see it is that China is the largest gold producer in the world and has been since 2007. China is the largest gold importer in the world. No gold leaves China. Mine gold in China, you cannot export it. So it's like a big black hole where the gold goes in and never comes out. And so my guess is that the next time that China reports its gold reserve, they're going to be a lot larger than anybody expects. And if you think about it in just the numbers, they've mined 7,000 tons just out of China since, 2007. And what about all the gold they've imported? They're the largest importer, and obviously some of it does go to private citizens, but my guess is that they're preparing themselves, as Russia is, to exit the US dollar system.
folks. What's the saying? He who has the gold makes the rules. Folks, pay attention. This is one of the reasons Glenn is one of my sponsors. The link in the top of the description, click on it, tell them DAI sent you. I'm telling you folks, this gold thing, when they do this reset, it is going to be a significant part. That's why I buy physical gold. I buy gold in my Glenn account so that it's spendable. And I also have plenty of XRP because I think all these things are going to be a part of this reset. Now, in case you felt like throwing up today, I wanted to show you this. I'm not going to go in depth into it, but American Express has elected Jay Clayton to their board of directors. That's enough on that. Now, I want to show you some capitulation on steroids. We've talked about how Ryan Selkis has capitulated recently, and he's let Brad Garlinghouse dunk him in the dunking booth. Look at this. He says, you don't understand how significant this is. Ethereum is 7 years old. Solana and Cosmos and Avalanche and Polkadot are 3 years old. Stablecoins are basically 5 years old. Nearly all the DeFi, NFT, and DAO space is less than 3 years old. Any policy that narrowly defines crypto as Bitcoin and Ethereum is misguided. Imagine if Congress had regulated the internet with only Microsoft and AOL in mind. That's what bad defaults in crypto policy could do to Web3. We can't hinder startup and emerging protocol growth even if the bad headlines persist. We need a sandbox. Folks, welcome to the party, Ryan Selkis. Let me tell you what, I mean, we have been the only people calling for this and calling all of this out, and the attempted monopoly that is Ethereum. We've been the only ones calling this out. And to see these people fold like this, they must be terrified of ETHgate because it's unbelievable. Because the backdrop is some of these people are the most arrogant people I've ever seen in my life. And for them to fold like Ryan Selkis has folded, they must be freaking terrified. Now, speaking of, this is Katie Hawn. Katie Hawn was the woman with the U.S. Justice Department that went after Ripple and made them pay a fine of $700,000 in 2015, declaring XRP a virtual currency. Then she ends up over at Andreessen Horowitz, the same people that were behind the Ethereum free pass. Well, all these people they used to be totally fine with the way regulations were when it was just going to be Bitcoin and Ethereum. But once ETHgate was uncovered, they all have changed their tune.
Quash innovation.
What do you think of how Gary Gensler, the chair of the SEC, and how he's approaching it?
One of the things that I hear from founders is that they're very confused because they get told, come in, register, just come in and talk to us. But you have the one company who's done the ultimate act of going in and registering. Coinbase filed an S1. And still, there's a lot of saber rattling still going on, I think. And again, I don't want to single out the SEC, and I don't want to suggest that anything they're doing is bad. I do think, though, that right now there's a lot of confusion. And one of the pieces of confusion stems from the fact that, and it started with the ICO mania back in 2016, 2017, I can't even remember which year now, where the SEC was very loud about securities. A lot of them were securities, but the space has changed. And so to still view it through the ICO lens when so much has happened over the last 5 years in the space, I think is a mistake. Okay.
Then I just wanted to show you what went down with the whole Charles Hoskinson thing at some point, apparently there were some people that started getting nasty with him. Now, I don't condone any of that. I wasn't nasty to Charles. I told him where I disagreed with him and told him where I thought he was wrong about things, but that's kind of the extent of it. I'm not trying to be ugly to the guy. But apparently some people got pretty rough on him. But anyway, he says, no, there was nothing inflammatory. This entire affair is because people seem to refuse any notion of context. My statements have been clear and precise. This has left me with no desire to do anything with XRP, Brad Garlinghouse, Chris Larson in any capacity. It's bizarre. Now, I think that he tagged these guys in here because he was basically asking them to throw him a lifeline, which is very, very rare for Chris Larson. I don't know if Chris Larson has ever commented on anything directly having to do with anything. But now you know Chris Larson's watching, because this was one of my original tweets when the official cool guy was asking what I thought about that video. And I said, I think Charles Hoskinson's a good guy, but he got this one wrong. We have the timeline, we have the video, we have John Deaton. Charles is welcome on my channel anytime with John Deaton to go over which parts are conspiracy and which are facts. And Charles Hoskinson had replied to it, and then he said his point that, anyway, Chris Larson came in, I think, to throw him a lifeline here. I agree with Charles Hoskinson on the larger point at hand. There's no regulatory clarity on how to classify and use crypto in the United States, which is why the SEC is using regulation by enforcement to bring all crypto under their remit. This affects all of us. Separately, some may not be aware, but Charles has been instrumental in crypto and climate initiatives, specifically researching and developing code for proof of useful work, a way Bitcoin has become carbon negative chain. I appreciate you engaging on this important issue. So I think Chris Larson was just doing the right thing, trying to help the guy out a little bit, and that's good. And then David Schwartz says, I mostly agree with him, but I think it's a mistake to ignore the fact that regulation by enforcement means the government picks the winners. There's there's no non-corrupt way to do that, and even if you beat the government in court, you're never where you could have been. And but then here's how John Deaton weighed in, and John, I 1,000% agree with where John's coming from here. This is why people call you out, Charles, because you're a leader in this community and you make headlines like this when you speak, and your comments undermine the important work of Jason Foster and the Empower organization, a nonprofit DC watchdog that isn't part of the XRP community. Chris Larson or anyone else can tweet support for you, and I'll stand next to you shoulder to shoulder in the fight against regulation by enforcement and government overreach. But it won't change. You're 100% wrong in saying grand conspiracy and it doesn't matter. This was the issue right here, folks. This is what he was 100% wrong about, okay? But I'm not going to keep harping on the whole thing. I'm just saying he was wrong about that, and that's the fact, Jack. And I was disappointed that he would not back away from those comments. He should, because he's wrong. And then, of course, this is comedy right here. This is hilarious. XRP, the Standard Productions, comes in. This isn't parody, folks, okay? Charles Hoskinson, the important thing that gets lost in all this is how I need to try and suck up to the SEC in hopes they don't go after me or ADA next for securities violations. A thread of why the SEC is awesome. That's just funny. I'm the digital asset investor. I'm not an investment advisor. This is for entertainment purposes only. Please subscribe, hit the like button, tell your friends and family that Charles Hoskinson, I think this whole thing's kind of over, but I've kind of said my piece. I still think he's one of the good guys. So I just think, all of us are wrong at times.